they put it into food. And like a battery that holds electricity, different foods, different vitamins, different proteins, uh, different essential oils, they all are packed with a very specific frequency of light. And when you're digesting food and you're breaking it apart, this is now called an exothermic reaction where energy is released. Like our body releases about 75 watts of power in just the infrared part of the spectrum.
Welcome to Holistic Hope, the vegan-friendly podcast show that uncovers the secrets to health that you've been searching for. I'm your host, Amanda Cuda. Welcome back to Season 2 of the Holistic Hope podcast show. I am so grateful that you're here and that we're back for another year. And I'm really excited for our first presenter this year. This man has been an absolute pivotal part of my health journey. And it was really funny because as I'm starting to organize the episodes for this next season, I have had people come and ask me questions. And 2 people just in the last week asked me more questions about my last podcast episode with this gentleman. So without further ado, I would like to welcome a dear friend who is a holistic health practitioner, a consultant, and author of my guide to health, The Complete Master Cleanse. Please welcome Tom Woloshyn.
Thank you very much, Amanda. It's a pleasure being here. It's nice to see you again. It's been a while.
It has been a while. Tom, I have been re-listening to the last podcast episode that we did because I wanted to remember what we spoke about on that episode. And it was really great because I learned some more things and new things from you after being doing the Master Cleanse for about 13 years now. And I love how it just continues to change my life. Every time I do it, new things happen, new things arise. And I'm always encouraging people, do the Master Cleanse. Like we said, do it for 10 days. Some people will go and do it for 40 days. Some people won't get through the first 3 days. You never know what's going to happen on the Master Cleanse. But today I'm bringing you back because in the last week, I've had 2 people specifically ask me about color therapy. So they were listening to the podcast, they've come back. We did speak about color therapy, not in great detail, and they want to know more about color therapy. And it's actually something I haven't done. I've heard you talk about it. I've read about it in your book. It is something that's intriguing. I know that color plays a pivotal role on our mood, our health. Like you said in the last episode, the Bible starts off with, let there be light. And so let's start with an introduction to what is color therapy.
Well, color therapy, very simply, is just the shining or application of specific colors or frequencies of light on the body for healing. And I say specific colors, like you can't just take any random color and shine it on your body. They have to be specific wavelengths within a certain bandwidth. In color therapy, there are 12 colors that you can use. There are 9 physical colors, and it starts with the very longest wavelength, which is red, and below red is infrared or less than red, all the way through the spectrum to the opposite side, which is violet, which is the shortest wavelength, and beyond violet is ultraviolet, and then the color right in the middle is green. And I'm bringing these points up, or those colors up, because it's red, violet, and green that are the 3 primary colors. If you take those 3 colors and shine them onto one spot together from 3 different lamps onto a white surface, the light will look white.
Oh.
Yes, in fact, when color TVs first came out and I was a child, you couldn't get proper skin color. Every day they would show for a minute or two a person's face with some other, in the background, various colors. And you would adjust your TV to get the skin color as close as you could to what looked naturally skin colored. You couldn't do it. While RCA who was making color TVs, they had red dots yellow dots and blue dots, and it didn't work. And they spent millions of dollars and found that you needed to do red, green, and they say the color blue, but it's not really blue. In color therapy, blue is sky blue. And in what they're referring to is more indigo, which is almost to the violet end of the spectrum. So the way it goes, you go red, orange, yellow, lemon, green, turquoise, blue, indigo, and violet. And so they spent millions of dollars. If they would have just had, Stanley Burroughs' book, they would have just had Stanley Burroughs' book and read that. They could have, for $10 at that time, they could have went, oh, those are the three primary colors, and just done that. Because now the color dots or the pixels are red, green, and they're not violet, but they're, indigo, which is close enough to get, an accurate rendition of what you see on TV that looks natural. So very simply, color is like another form of nutrition. Instead of eating food and it being digested, and guess what digestion does? It breaks down the food that was created through photosynthesis. So plant eats sunlight. Yes, they eat sunlight. They're light eaters, and they put it into food. And like a battery that holds electricity, different foods, different vitamins, different proteins, different essential oils, they all are packed with a very specific frequency of light. And when you're digesting food and you're breaking it apart, this is now called an exothermic reaction, where energy is released. Like our body releases about 75 watts of power in just the infrared part of the spectrum, because our body is generating heat. And that heat is actually sunlight that the plants took and put into food. And when we digest that food, we release that sunlight. We're like, in a sense, a bit of a sunbeam.
I love that.
So food is just packaged, sunlight. And we can absorb light, but people say, well, why can't we just do white light? Because white light got millions of frequencies, and our body needs to have a much narrower spectrum on what it can assimilate. And in fact, if through photosynthesis, we know that it's chlorophyll is the molecule that the sun that traps sunlight and helps the plant to produce these molecules of food. And in our bloodstream, there's a molecule called hemoglobin. It's what makes our blood red. And when you can compare those two molecules side by side, the biggest difference is that in the central atom of chlorophyll, it's magnesium, and the central atom in hemoglobin, it's iron. But they're very similar molecules. So you would think plants can take sunlight through chlorophyll. Maybe we as humans can absorb light or radiation through hemoglobin. And the difference may be that chlorophyll can use all sunlight, whereas we, with hemoglobin, we can only use specific bandwidth. And so if you're, say, deficient of a hot condition, you have a fever that's hot, you're red, you use the opposite. Do a cool color, do blue, do turquoise, do indigo, and it cools the body. So it's all pretty simple. And this is sometimes what escapes people. This isn't, you don't need a computer to do this. You have a cold condition, you use a hot color. You have a cold. The color that works well is the color lemon, which is mixing two filters, the yellow filter and your green filter, and you get this color lemon, and it's what helps to break up and loosen mucus in the body. I'm just kind of what it looks like through the camera there. Sorry about that.
That was interesting. So if you're listening to the podcast, definitely go check out the YouTube video so then you can see what Tom was just holding up. So you use the color light therapy. Do you have the lamp?
I've got one right here with the red filter in it.
Okay.
I don't have it turned on. If I turn it on, it'll blind the camera.
Yeah.
And So these filters just slide in and out of here. And so you have a bulb. This bulb is a 14-watt bulb, but it shines as brightly as an 150-watt incandescent bulb, which is from 30 years ago. The technology has improved a lot, and the light that it projects or shines is mimics daylight. So it produces a very white light. And so it's pretty evenly through the whole spectrum, the same amount of radiant light. And so you will get from any of the colors a fairly bright projection of that color onto your body. There are three colors that don't project as bright, and this Stanley Burroughs listed them as what he called our spiritual colors that we see. There's 9 physical colors and there's 9 spiritual colors. And the difference, he said, is that one spirals clockwise when it radiates towards you, and the other one radiates counterclockwise. And we only see 3 of the spiritual colors, and they are magenta, purple, and scarlet. And there's 6 other colors that people can see if they see auras or the body's biomagnetic fields. I have seen them at times doing something that triggers that, but I can't do it on command. I have a friend who can see these fields or these colors, and I used to I would ask her, for example, I work with essential oils, and I showed her frankincense essential oil, and I said, "What color do you see?" She said, "Green." Well, in color therapy, the color green kills cancer cells. Well, there are, in French medical texts, frankincense is listed as anti-cancerous and as an anti-tumoral. Now, there is an oil that is sold by one of the major oil producers or companies, Young Living. They had some research done with their what's called sacred frankincense, and it is actually Boswellia sacra is the actual term. I think that's the official Latin term for this tree.
Yeah.
They've done some studies to show that it works very effectively as an anti-cancer and anti-tumoral product if you take it internally or apply it topically. So it makes perfect sense. Now you would say, well, how does that oil work? Well, guess what? When you take that oil, you take it internally and you digest it and then you metabolize it, your body burns it. And guess what it does? It releases that green light in your body. That's what food does. It releases light into your body. Like every vitamin has its own specific color. Vitamin A is yellow. Vitamin D is violet. Vitamin E is scarlet. Vitamin C is lemon. Vitamin K is indigo. Now you might go, what's vitamin K? Well, they use that to help prevent internal bleeding. Well, in color therapy, the color you use to prevent internal bleeding is indigo. This was written decades ago, before even, they even were probably aware of vitamin K. And so it's not a coincidence that vitamin K and the color indigo do the same thing, because vitamin K, when it metabolizes, releases indigo into the body. And so every mineral, like the color of hydrogen is red, the color of oxygen is blue, the color of calcium is orange, the color of silica is orange, potassium is magenta, and on and on and on. All the elements in the periodic table are identified by their own specific frequency that is unique to them, like our own fingerprint. And so whether it's a mineral, a vitamin, an essential oil, a homeopathic remedy, an herbal remedy, etc., these all have a specific sort of energy wavelength that is specific to them. And that the whole study of light is called spectroscopy, which is basically how to identify things through the light that they emanate, or will actually, it is kind of the opposite, will absorb. There's, as I said, the 3 primary colors are red, green, and violet. Now, if you talk to a painter or somebody prints or uses dyes or colors, they'll go, no. The 3 primary colors are what? They'll say cyan, which is blue, sky blue. They'll say magenta and yellow. And if you look at Stanley's color chart, you know what you'll see?
Can I say they're the colors that we would have in our printer, right?
Yes. So magenta is opposite to green, blue is opposite to red, and yellow is opposite to violet. And isn't that interesting? So if you add red, green, and violet and you project light, you will create white light. But if you use inks and you mix blue and yellow and magenta together, what do you get? Black, which is the absence of light. And
Mm.
how an ink works or a dye or a paint works is that, uh, for example, let's look at this, for example. So when you see this yellow, white light from my halo light is hitting this yellow dye on the page. And what's happening? The elements or the compounds in here work like a sponge and it absorbs all the frequencies of light, but it acts like a mirror to reflect back one frequency of light, and that's that yellow. Do you understand that?
Yeah.
So a paint is like a sponge. It absorbs frequencies and it then mirrors or reflects back. So this isn't radiant light, this is reflective light. Now the light from you can see coming off my glasses, that's a radiant light. This is a reflective light. And so they're opposites. There's additive and subtractive. So when you do subtractive light, subtractive light, you end up with what? No light. So black is not a color. Black is the absence of light.
Wow.
And many people don't understand that. Is they go, there is only light. There is nothing else. Which is, if you're in a room that's completely dark, it's not that there's darkness there, there's just a lack of light. If you put a little bit of light in there, it'll illuminate the room. You can't have a room of light and bring blackness in.
Right.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's impossible. So
Yeah.
these are concepts that people just haven't thought about. They go, there is no, black is not a color, it's the absence of light. Which leads to, Stanley says, to avoid wearing black like the plague, because the color black absorbs from your body energy. It doesn't
Ooh.
light shine through. You can see I'm wearing, doesn't look that bright, but it's a neon orange shirt I'm wearing today. I put that on because I thought it'd be the brightest. And if I look through my shirt, ooh, it's orange under there, right? So I'm
Ooh.
getting some effect of color that way. But when you wear black, you're not getting any effect that way. And this
Wow.
sometimes really upsets people. I love black. I wear it all the time. I go,
Yeah.
yeah, fine. Do whatever you like.
That has your mood.
Yeah.
Like I know from just when if I'm having, and I call it a rainy day, because I know it's a season, I know I'll pass through, I just know I'm not feeling good. And, it could be my cycle, it could be I've had a conflict with somebody or whatever it is that I'm just not feeling great that day. And if it's a day where I just want to, shut myself off and rest and recuperate, and when I'm just at home on my own, I have a very vast colored wardrobe as well. But, for some reason, when you're feeling sad or, big grief or whatever, you tend to that mood draws you towards wearing those darker black colors. And I have to remind myself that if I want to shift that feeling of what it is that I'm feeling, I need to wear something more colorful. And so I have a very colorful dress that I have, and it has all the different colors. And surprise, surprise, after wearing that dress for the day, it's helped me then shift my mood. Where young Amanda would have gone for the black, the darker colors, which doesn't help. It kind of prolongs that mood. So I love that you brought up just the clothes that we wear. And I wore green today because to me, I was told that is a healing color. Is that right? What does green
Well,
represent?
all colors have the ability to. I don't like the word heal because the color therapy doesn't heal you. Color therapy is a tool that helps your body heal itself,
Okay.
whether it's vitamins or a diet or essential oils or homeopathic or acupuncture. These are tools that assist the body in its own natural healing ability. In terms of color therapy, Green is the go-to color if you never know what to do.
Okay.
It has effects of the hot part of the spectrum and the cool part of the spectrum. So if you had a burn, it will work effectively. If you had a fever, it'll work effectively. If you had a bruise, if you had a cold, if is it cancer, diabetes, all of those things, it will work. Now, sometimes it might be more effective to use the specific color. It'll work maybe a little faster than green, but green will always work. I wanted to, before I get too far away from this, is that as you brought about mood, I can't remember the. He was a clothes designer, famous clothes designer, and he wore black, solid black, and designed in black all the time. And he had been depressed for years, well over a decade. And then he started designing in all these bold, bright colors. And coincidentally, the year he started designing with all these colors, his depression went away. He, and I saw this on TV as I go, yeah, and he's designing with all these colors and his depression is gone. And I went, duh, yes.
Yeah.
Black is the absence of light. It it draws energy from you. And
Mm.
I know this will trigger people. And you don't have to believe me. You don't have to trust me. All I ask people to do is just don't wear black for a week or two, or,
Mhm.
like wear colors. And then after a week or two of wearing bright colors, wear a solid black all day and
Mm.
just see how that makes you feel. If you feel wonderful, keep wearing black. But if you go, I don't know, I kind of noticed that I don't feel the same now, then that might be your pivoting point to go, well, maybe I need to consider this. I didn't have a lot of, black in my wardrobe, but I am talking back like 1980. But I had some black clothes. And when I took this training, the very next day, all my black clothes were gone. I had a black leather jacket and I sold it to my brother who really wanted it.
Yeah.
I was just in Spain and I came back with this kind of rather bright blue leather jacket. So I like colors. So I always, buy color when I buy clothes.
Yeah. And when I actually, after the very first time I did the master cleanse, I really felt that in the clothes I was wearing. So I was having a conversation with a girlfriend over lunch, telling her that I just can't wear dark colors anymore. I mean, this is a dark green shirt I'm wearing now, and obviously seasons, everything changes from time to time. But there was a period after my very first master cleanse, I could not wear any dark colors, and I only had dark colors in my wardrobe. So I had to go shopping because it was really bothering my soul wearing dark colors. And then for Christmas, she bought me this really beautiful light colored, like multicolored light, but they were lighter colored scarf. And it was just such a beautiful scarf, and I still have it to this day. And it just reminds me of that time and how I progressed and changed. So when you do start to do these modalities that help the body heal, you'll really notice different things will change. I'm doing the master cleanse because I'm wanting to get rid of toxins out of my body, not knowing all of a sudden I'm going to have a reaction to the different colors that I'm wearing.
Well, the thing about cleansing is that your body will become more sensitive in a sense, or you will be able to read into what your body is telling you. I used to drink 40 ounces of milk a day when I did the master cleanse. And after doing the master cleanse, the first time I drank milk, I went, oh, geez, I don't like the way it makes me feel. And, I had, they drank all of this milk and I was getting sore throats and I had all these problems. And once I stopped drinking all of that milk and stuff, those problems just stopped reoccurring. So yeah, it's doing the cleanse is just it's a resensitizes you to your body and its needs and what it likes and what it doesn't like. So that's yeah, it's obvious um, sort of connection there.
Yeah. So if we take it back, because I know I asked you to show the lamp and we kind of more went into the technical side of the light, but if we just backtrack it a little bit more. So you initially learned about color therapy from Stanley Burroughs, which is the book we've been. Oh, that's right. You learned it from Stanley. And Stanley learned it from other people and also goes back to ancient times.
Yes. Well, color therapy is written up on the Great Pyramid in hieroglyphics. The ancient Romans used it. The ancient Greeks used it. Um, the, uh, the churches in the Middle Ages in Europe, before they had stained glass windows or stained glass in the windows, I believe they had just plain glass. But in the churches, they had these rooms that had 12 different little spaces or booths that were made from solid stained glass, each color of the rainbow that you would, so it wasn't multicolored. Each booth was one solid color of glass. And you would go into this little space and then pray for healing, I believe. And you would be doing color therapy. And so the art form of stained glass windows grew out of doing color therapy. A study that was done in the United States many years ago, they wanted to do a follow-up on the people who were having spontaneous healings while in church. People's diseases were just suddenly gone, and this was being medically established. And so they're going, how is this happening? Well, they all had one thing in common. They were all sitting in the light coming through the stained glass windows. They were doing color therapy,
So if you're going to church, go find where the light is shining through and make sure you're sitting on that so you're getting the healing benefit.
Well, I've talked to people and they said, when I go to church, I will go to the pew where the light is shining through the window so I can be in that, because they said, I like that light.
Yeah.
So, with color therapy, you pick your own color. Like there's a blue, as I said, a yellow, a green, there was a red, and there's violet as well. This is I misplaced the other blue one. This is a wrinkly one. Or this is violet. And so those 5 colors, you can make all 12. And depending, you can use the color by just, what your mood is. If you're feeling kind of low energy, yellow is very activating, very stimulating. Feeling tired, it will. Yeah, I grew up in Saskatchewan, which is where it was the sunniest place in all of Canada. We got, I think, 325 sunny days of the year. And then I moved to Toronto, as I was telling you earlier. Mm-hmm. And I remember one winter, it had been 3 weeks of solid cloud, no sun. And I was starting to feel kind of like low energy. And going, well, the sun hasn't been shining. So I got my color lamp out and I was actually sleeping under the color yellow. And which doesn't make a lot of sense, but I had a timer. So it goes on for an hour, off for 2 hours, on for an hour, off for 2 hours, on for an hour, and then off again. So the way you do color therapy is like, as I mentioned, like eating, and you eat, digest, assimilate. You don't eat 10 meals a day. People generally eat 3 meals a day. So in color therapy, you can do a maximum of 8 a day, but 1 hour on with at least 2 hours in between application. And so I had a timer on, and over a period of 7 or 8 hours, I could do 3 1-hour applications. And within a day or two, I was like, oh, I feel all, energetic and peppy again, because I was being fed, light. And people do, have heard of SAD, S-A-D, seasonal affective disorder. And they get these $200 or $300 lights that just project daylight on them. Well, the color yellow from, my lamp is like $59 on my website. And if you just don't do one color, you've got all 12 colors to treat anything and everything. And it's so inexpensive and so simple that many people go, well, how can that be?
Yeah. And I was wondering, so that makes sense now, because I was wondering why you were alternating in the times, like having that hour on, 2 hours off. So if you had it on all the time, it would be the equivalent if you were just sitting there eating food all day. Like,
well, kind of. Here's an analogy. If you had an 8-ounce cup, an empty cup, and you took a gallon of water and you poured your gallon of water into this cup, how much water is in the cup when you dump the whole gallon?
Right.
It's 8 ounces. You just get this spillover.
Mhm.
So in about 1 hour, your body will be saturated, with
Okay.
light. It's just like you've eaten until you get the signal, I'm full.
Mhm.
You don't keep eating after you're full. You just, maybe you
Yeah,
do, but it's not
that's
not the
tendency.
thing to do.
Right. Okay. So that's why you alternate with the times.
Yeah.
And yeah, so back to how did Stanley come across the color light
Well,
therapy?
Stanley was he worked in vaudeville. This is back in the 1920s, and he had a friend who was a psychic, and his friend said there was this man. His name is Colonel Dinshaw Gadali, is teaching a workshop, a weekend workshop on color therapy. And he said, I believe it's very important for you to take this workshop. So Stanley took it. Now, Stanley said 1925 or 26, and he paid, he said, $100 for the workshop and $100 for the lamp. In today's dollars, that's probably like a couple $1,000s each,
Wow.
for those things. And while he was in the workshop, his agent suffered a stroke and was paralyzed down one side of his body, and he was told by the doctors then that he would never walk again. And Stanley, when he found this out after his workshop, came to him and said, "Can I practice this new therapy on you that I have with this light?" And this man kind of hummed and hawed, and he said, "Well, I won't charge you. Well, in 1 week, this man was up and walking. 1 week of doing
Wow.
color therapy. His next client was a young woman who had contracted syphilis. This is long before the age of antibiotics. The
Mm.
treatment then took 6 months and it cost $200. Stanley said, if it works, I'll charge you $25. And in 2 weeks, her syphilis was gone just using the color lamp.
Wow.
And that's how it all started, just, from doing that.
And no side effects.
Well, that's the key. Yeah, there's no side effects. Um, if you do too much,
Mhm.
it's just the spillover. It doesn't do anything.
Right.
You
Okay.
now if you did, I was interviewed in Canada by the CBC television network. It's a national network, and it was a Sunday show, and they came in and interviewed me in my office in Toronto and had one of my clients, and they actually spent most of the time interviewing my client because she had been using the color lamp for at least 3 years and had used it every single day. And once the interview was over and the crew left, we were talking, and she said, Tom, I'm having some problems. I go, okay, well, let an appointment. So she comes to see me, and as I'm treating her, I'm doing Vitaflo, which is similar to reflective, but much more extensive and comprehensive. And I went, oh, this is a hot condition. And oh, this is a hot condition. Oh, this is a hot condition. This is a, I went, you're using your color lamp. She goes, I've used it every day. I said, what color are you using? She said, orange. I said, orange. Orange is a hot color. Orange draws things of your body.
Mm.
And I'll tell you a story about how I used it recently. And I said, how long have you been using orange? And she said, about a month. I
Uh,
just started laughing. So doing one color consistently, she was
uh-huh.
pulling, heat out of her body, like hot things. And I said, just switch to turquoise and do that for 3 days and you'll be fine. So my story about using orange was a few years ago. I had ordered this um, chocolate from this man who high antioxidant nutrients in there and berries, and it was this raw chocolate. And there was 6 little jars, glass, and they put it into a box with almost no packing material. And one of the jars was broken, but it was the chocolate inside the jar was hard, and it was a tightly wound plastic tight label. The jar had shattered, but you couldn't tell.
Oh.
And when I opened the jar up, a shard of glass came out and went into my thumb about here and hit this joint. And I screamed as if I was being murdered. It hurt so much. It was just, and there was this shard of glass in my hand, and I took it out. I still have pictures, like, because it started bleeding immediately. There was a pool of blood in my hand as I was holding it. I was rather annoyed. And
Yeah.
I took out this glass and I was in my car at the time, and I came home and I told my wife. She said, there's another piece of glass in there. I said, no, there's not. I said, I took it out. She said, the piece of glass. I know. Well, it healed up. And a few weeks later, oh, there's a piece of glass in there. How do you get that out now? So I don't know if you probably can't really see, but the original scar is right above my finger there. And I started sleeping at night well, the color red draws things to kind of a head, and then orange draws things out. So I did red for a while, and then I did orange. And I could feel this piece of glass moving back from the joint and coming the other way. And I could feel it about this far from the original entry point. And so I took a really sharp knife and I cut into where I thought it was, just not that deep. And I went, oh, it hurts. And I just left it.
Uh-huh.
And a week later, I kind of looked at it again, and it kind of healed up, and I cut it open again. And it's so close, but it hurt to cut it
Oh, yeah.
any deeper. And it was days later, and I was in the shower, and I was showering my hair and doing this. And I went like this, and I felt a piece of glass, across my face, but I didn't do it very hard. And that piece of glass was sticking out. And I
Wow.
came out, and my wife took some tweezers and just pulled it out. And I used the color to just draw this out. And that was one of the things I was taught, is that orange draws things out of your body. In fact, this may or may not be totally accurate. Well, one thing or the other is. So there was a man, this is back in the 1970s in Canada, and he was either doing the master cleanse, or I think it was actually color therapy. He had a piece of shrapnel come out of his body 30 years later from World War II.
Wow.
And it was either the master cleanse. It wouldn't really, one or the other. But
Mhm.
I think it was the color, though. He was doing orange, and this metal came right out of his body.
Wow.
So that's how powerful. I mean, you can, another thing that is absolutely astounding is that you can be badly burned,
Mhm.
and the color turquoise, which is the green filter and the sky blue filter mixed together, you can stop the pain from a burn within 1 hour.
It's incredible.
And you can heal totally without scar tissue in 3 weeks or less.
Wow.
In hospitals, they rip people's scabs off on a daily basis
Yeah.
under the most painful situations, and they're left horribly scarred. Color therapy, and I'm not talking theory, this has been done. I know you're from Australia or originally, and I was in Australia teaching, and a woman bought a color lamp. And a couple of years later, she wrote to me to tell me that her 3-year-old niece was badly burned in a fire over 30% of her body. And she said, I brought in your color lamp and Young Living's lavender essential oil.
I was about to ask you about the lavender. So I was like, so what is the frequency color of lavender? Because we use lavender for burns.
Yes. Well, actually, Gary said a better oil for a burn is actually a grand fir. It used to be balsam fir.
Okay,
Grand
grand
fir.
fir.
Because
Interesting.
grand fir, I didn't bring that up, is purple. Purple is
Oh,
the color for pain in color therapy. When I was showing my friend, grand fir, I said, what do you see? And she said, purple. And I went, that's what I use for pain all the time. And that's what Gary suggested for burns.
for burns. Okay. So would you say you burnt yourself? Would you use lavender and the light therapy, or would you just use one or the other? Like what would you do?
I would use, okay, so I was, when I went to Australia, I was going to let me finish the
Oh
story.
yeah, the other story.
After
Yeah.
3 days, the hospital was, stopped this woman and said, what are you doing? Because it was her, she was healing so quickly without pain. They were like, what, like, this is phenomenal. What are you doing? So
Yeah.
when I was in Australia, I got badly burned. I was out on the beach all day and it was
Oh,
cloudy and I didn't have any suntan on it. And I was like as bright red as you can imagine over my whole body.
I've
I
been there.
and I had a color lamp with me
Hmm.
and I just got under the color lamp and I did 5 applications of turquoise. I
Hmm.
had some fresh aloe vera leaf I was putting on and lavender.
Okay.
And the next day I was out hiking. I
Wow.
was trying to
Okay.
stay out of the sun, but
Yeah.
most people would have probably would ended up in the hospital. But I now have white spots on my skin um, uh, from that particular episode. I've been burned too often because I rarely ever use suntan lotion.
Yeah,
And
sunscreen. Yeah, I'm the same. And so when we were back in Australia recently, I use the Young Living sunscreen because it
yeah,
doesn't have all the nasty stuff in it. But me and my husband were very particular to make sure that we were wearing the sunscreen, wearing a hat.
yes,
We would even wear like a long sleeve shirt when we went into the water because the trip before that, when we went to the beach, I was like a lobster, and it
uh,
was terrible. And I didn't have the color light therapy lamps with me,
yeah.
and I didn't have like that much lavender oil on me either.
Oh,
So it was like trying to use, and it was my whole thing, my
yeah.
whole top body was just, I was so burnt. It was terrible. So I- getting the light therapy, because I've had one of the questions I've had is, does it matter the light source that you're using with the color?
No, because as long as you're projecting light through the filter is going to mitigate whatever light is behind it and only allow through it what you want projected on your body.
Okay.
You don't want something that's flickering though. You don't want they're annoying. I wouldn't use um, like a neon bulb or a fluorescent bulb. They could be used, but you could, if you had big sheets of plastic, you could put it in a window and let the sun shine through the plastic onto
Mm,
your body. Now, the thing about color therapy, it has to be in a reasonably darkened room. If you have sunlight shining into the room you're doing color therapy, that sunlight will wash out the color. You won't get the effect of the color. So
right.
the room that I'm in right now is far too bright to do
Okay.
color therapy,
Yeah, I think
but
same.
it doesn't
Room.
have to be pitch black, but it has to be reasonably dark and no sunlight coming through.
So is doing this while you're asleep then? And it kind of feels counterintuitive to put light on when you're trying to go to sleep. But
Yes, I don't like to sleep in a room with light, but I can have the color lamp on shining yellow, which is like sunlight shining. It's so bright, and I can have it go on and off 3 times in a night
Mhm.
and not notice it. It is the weirdest thing.
Wow.
Now, I don't recommend that people do that until you get used to the color. It took me about a week to get familiar or sort of used to the light going on and off.
Mhm.
But a good color to sleep under, if you're having problems sleeping, is the blue filter and the violet mixed together. That's my favorite color. Whoops, indigo. I'll put it in front of the camera lens again, and
And
that's
there we go. Yeah.
there we go. And
Okay.
that color I have found for myself,
Mhm.
to help me to sleep. If that were, I don't generally have a problem, but that color also works as an antibiotic. It stops internal bleeding.
Mhm.
It's good for if you have diarrhea,
Ooh.
and if there's a few other things that it's good for as well, and that's all listed in Stanley's book. What those, they're all the different colors. What there's the 12 colors listed and what they do, and all. If you get Stanley's book, there is something that you in the instructions you can ignore. So in the book, I maybe find that page. It'll say shine on this part of your body, this part of your body. Here's the different regions of the body.
Oh yeah, I saw that chart.
Now, because the filters are so much more accurate than the glass that he used back in the 1920s, and
Mm,
because the bulbs are so much brighter and accurate, You don't have to shine it on this part of the body, this part of the body, that part of the body. Doesn't matter. I've been badly burned on my back and just shone it on my chest while watching TV. And it still works. An hour later, my burn's gone and the pain's gone.
Okay, so the light from the TV doesn't interfere or...
Well, that probably if you've got a giant screen,
Yeah, like
that
most
will
people these
probably
days.
I was talking more of, like a smaller,
Right.
20-inch tube
Maybe if
TV.
you're on your tablet watching
Yeah.
something smaller. Okay, so I'm gearing up to do the master cleanse in a couple of weeks' time.
Well,
Um,
I'm doing a cleanse starting on the 14th, an online group cleanse.
oh, the 14th. Okay, I'm gonna put that in my diary and write that
It
down.
goes for 16 days, 3 days on, 10 days of the cleanse, 3 days off.
Okay, so the 14th of February. That
13th of February it
Oh,
starts.
13th of February. Okay, so that's this week. Okay. And so here in my office where I am, where I record these podcasts, there's a big window over to the side that I get like a lot of nice natural sunlight, but I do have blinds. So if I was doing work while I'm on the master cleanse, are you saying too much of the natural light? Because I'm not going to get a whole big filter for the window. That's just not
You
practical.
just, close your blinds. It
Cleanse
depends,
clothes.
yeah, close your blind, put your color lamp on. And
Okay.
I mean, if there's still a lot of light, you could just hang, a towel or something to block. You don't have to, as I said, make it totally black by any means. It's just make sure there's no direct sunlight coming in.
Okay. And then what was the best color? Okay, so two questions. What is the best color for being on the cleanse? And like you said, would you change up the color, like seriously cleansing? So just to give people a bit of a background, when on the cleanse, the point of doing it is you're detoxing the body. What you're trying to alkaline the body, detox the body from toxins. So,
It would depend on your various symptoms.
okay.
Stanley Burroughs believed that there was only one disease, and that's toxemia. And doctors treat and diagnose the thousands of different symptoms as diseases. And Stanley would say disease. So cancer is just your body's really toxic. Your body's become very acid. So in color therapy, you start with 5 green, 6 magenta, 3 lemon, I think 3 yellow, 5 green, and 6 magenta. That could take you, depending on how many applications you do a day. If you did 3 a day, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That'd be 10 days. You could do three applications a day. It could take you 10 days to do that.
Okay.
So you could be awake or asleep. You could be reading. You could be, the only time because you're on the lemonade, drinking lemonade won't cause your digestive system to be interfered doing color therapy.
Okay.
If you're eating, you can't do color on top of eating unless you do one color and one color only, and that the yellow. And yellow aids digestion, helps your body to digest them, and stimulates your appetite. Any other color will give you indigestion. Quick story. I had this woman, this client, and my teacher had been treating her and sold her a color lamp. And she was using it on her children. And she was, I'd come to see her once a week, and she would be raving about the effects on her children and how well it was working. And then I come one week, and she said, I stopped using the color lamp on my children. I went, why? You said it works so well. They're getting sick. They're getting nauseous. And I said, when are you using it? Well, when they come home for lunch, I put them under color. And I said, that will make them sick. Yes. You can't, the only color you can use while they're eating is yellow. And then she was like, so that's the only time that you really can't do color unless you use yellow.
Okay. So I have some questions that people wrote into me that we're running out of time. So I want to make sure we address the questions. Okay. So the first question, should they be in order to the colors, and what kind of sequencing over a period of time? Which is a very broad question.
Can you repeat that? What is it? The order of the colors?
Yeah. And maybe
in Stanley's book, he has instructions for various. Here, For example, varicose veins, hemorrhoid, phlebitis, glaucoma, and similar conditions. You start with applications of green, 4 applications, 3 purple, and 3 indigo. And
Okay.
that so
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 really, people really want to get
the book,
Stanley's book, The
yeah,
Healing. Okay, so I can see that up on page 20 where the schedules start. And then that way people can say, so when you say 5 applications, it means you're doing, if we're looking at cancer where the first color is green, 5 applications mean an
1
hour
hour
on,
uh,
2 hours off,
off. Yes,
and you're doing that for 5 times before you
yes,
move to the next color. Okay,
exactly.
so that's your sequencing. So you really want to get the book so you understand the schedule of the colors and what to do. Okay. And then the next question, which kind of we just answered, was how can we find out more which color is suitable for what condition? Well, find the book.
Okay. So, well, you can download the book from the website realrawfood.com.
Okay. Okay.
realrawfood.com.
And I'll make sure to pop the link in the
Yes.
description for that.
And then they just click on the articles tab and just go to H. Scroll to H, and then you can download it as a PDF.
Okay. So then people can have that. And that's a free download for them.
Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. Um, and then just for general health. So if they're feeling really good and they just want to make sure that they stay good, is there something what you do for general health? Is that
Well,
green?
you could I know lots of people that just do green over and over and over.
Mhm.
However, I like to do some of the hot colors, because they're
Ooh.
activating and stimulating. So yellow will give you energy. Yellow helps strengthen your pancreas. And lots of people, as they get older, the pancreas becomes more and more dysfunctional. Um, it's the color that strengthens your heart. It's good for your eyes, and it helps to break up calcium and lime deposits that cause arthritis. Yellow is the color for confidence and courage.
Ooh.
Orange helps with constipation. It's the color for success. It helps with, as I say, drawing things with your body. It good for your thyroid. What else is there? There's a whole lot of things it does. Um, red is a sexual stimulant. It helps to produce red blood cells. It's
Mm.
good for vitality and energy. And on and all that, that if you get Danny's book, all of it's in there.
Yeah.
So,
Um, I was just trying to have a quick flip through because I'm on this whole parasite quest right now where I'm like, I feel like my body's become, well, being here living in America, I feel like I've just become between heavy metals and parasite. I just feel like I'm not doing the cleanse enough to get on top of them. So parasites, you're holding
the
up
color
yellow.
yellow kills
Mm-hmm.
parasites. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So that, yeah, if you do a lot of yellow,
Mm.
and yet and that's what's interesting, because parasites make you paranoid. The waste they secrete, because they defecate in your body, it's a neurotoxin to your brain. It makes people paranoid, fearful, indecisive, all that sort of stuff. And so the color yellow helps create confidence and courage, and also kills parasites. Isn't that interesting?
I love that.
So
And then, so what about with heavy metals?
I would use the color lemon, which is green and yellow combined. That's this, or there and there. So so that will come through again. There we go.
There we go.
That
Yeah.
lime green,
Okay.
you know,
So
could
I
be
could
the
do a rotation on the master
yeah,
cleanse. So if I'm
between yellow and
in line.
yellow and lemon. Those
Mhm.
that would be a real good mix.
Okay. I like that. And then I'm going to call his name out. My friend Isaac, he wanted to know if you could do it from sunlight if you have the lens. Wait, hold on.
It,
If you can do it from sunlight if you have a lens to filter it to change the color, or does it need to be that particular light source? Yeah, I think.
you can use sunlight, but you would to project it, you would need big sheets of it. You know,
Like a cable over
you,
you.
you would need, depending if you wanted to do. I thought about doing this thing kind of like I have a sunlight sunlight and sauna, infrared
Mm.
sauna, and it looks kind of like a mummy cover. You lay down, and it's got a kind of
Oh,
a
yeah.
half, circle over it. And I thought about making a frame and
Mhm.
buying the sheet, these sheets, and just you'd need about 5 of them at least, and you would just to put it up in the sun, and then as it bared down, and you could be doing color therapy, I'm sure it would get hot from the sunlight. You'd be kind of cooking inside as well.
Oh, for
But
sure.
you might have to actually get a little fan in there to cool yourself off. But that could be done just a lot easier. And this color lamp will work anywhere in the world. It'll work in Australia, it'll work in
Mhm.
Europe, it'll work in North America, it'll work in South America. You don't need a power adapter. You just need a plug adapter, just this part that plugs it in. You don't
Mhm.
need, because the bulb that's in here will work anywhere in the world,
Okay.
anywhere from what is it? I forget voltage, anywhere from about 80 volts to 220 volts. So it'll work anywhere in the world.
And I think I have more questions, but another question. So you don't really need to shine it on you don't need to take your shirt off to have extra skin exposure for
You
it to
want it
work.
actually on as much of your skin as possible.
Okay, so you do it's like if wear a singlet where you can
Yeah, you
or
can.
less.
You could if you wore light cotton, white,
Okay.
it'll shine through. I'll typically, if I'm doing it, just sit in shorts,
Mhm.
and I could be in my living room, and the blinds closed, if I just turn on the lamp, or in my um, bedroom. In the bedroom, we have it on the wall up high, and if
Okay.
it then I have a heater, I could and just get the heat up to where it's comfortable,
Mhm.
and then you can just sleep without I'll be covered up to my waist, and then sleep with my back or my chest exposed, depending on how I'm sleeping.
Okay.
And do
And then, so is that with like if people are doing I know I love going to an infrared sauna and you can change the light while you're in the sauna. Is that having a similar effect?
Not really, because
Okay.
they're more that's more kind of as a eye candy. They don't have the right
Mm,
frequencies. They're not bright enough. The the bulb that I have here shines with about 1,500 lumens of light,
mm,
and which is, and once you put a filter in it, it's reduced, but you're working with probably six, seven, 800, depending on the color, six, seven, 800 lumens of light, and you won't get that out of those, because the one that I have has little light. My children like, when they're in there, they like to play with the lights, but it only shines on your face. There's not while you're in the sauna itself. Now we have the one that you lie in. It's a one person, and these
mhm.
other saunas, that are in the ceiling and stuff, they're just really not bright enough. If they um, put one of these light, they might have to even put two in there, from if you put a two-person one from the ceiling, and then you have to change the filters. That would work,
Okay.
but what they have is not really designed for that. Um, the a place that I used to go to, David Asprey, uh, had this light bed, and I talked to the person who installed it, and it it did red light therapy, did basically this same color. This lamp is $59. That light bed was $50,000,
Wow.
and it only shone one color. And you lay it on it, and the nice thing about it is that it also radiated a bit of infrared to keep you warm, but it
Mhm.
was just red light. No, it won't do anything different than this. And it was a $50,000 light. My wife bought just recently a similar light, an LED portable that does
Mm.
red light. It's $400, and it just does red light. It's the same color as this. And so if you're traveling in the car or something, because got, charged with batteries and stuff, you can do
Yeah.
that. But it's like there's all these red light, therapies out there, and they're really expensive. But you only do one frequency, and if people really understood how this worked, you would just buy a color lamp, and that. But anyways,
Tom, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You're just a wealth of information, and people, if you have any questions, you can contact Tom. We're going to pop the links to his websites in the description. I join him for the master cleanse when he does it, because it is just so insightful when you work with Tom. You can see him for a VitaFlex session, a one-on-one session, have a consultation with Tom. I definitely recommend these two books that you need to buy, which is Tom's The Complete Master Cleanse, and then Stanley Barrow's The Healing for the Age of Enlightenment. So definitely you can get both of them off Amazon. Go to Tom's website. You can purchase the color lamp, as Tom mentioned, $59 directly from his website. Is that 59 Canadian?
US.
US, 59 US. So, and he will get that shipped to you. And it is, Tom G, have a parting word for us?
Let there be light.
Let there be light. Thank you so much for joining us, Tom. Thank you for everybody for being here. And stay well, and we will catch you on the next one.
Thank you for joining us on the show today. If you like this episode, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode.